Hello, and welcome to the Film Vomit Podcast, an extension of the Vomit series of podcasts. As always, we're your hosts, Mac Taylor and Cole Selby, and today we are talking about Summer of '84, the 2018 Shudder exclusive film. Cole, give me your expectations and thoughts going in, and what happened when you watched this movie.
Well, Summer of '84 definitely brings up, the first thing I thought about was like, okay, maybe it's going to be like a Stranger Things ripoff, because let's be honest, it kind of brought a little bit of a resurgence of like that '80s feel or nostalgia feel in a way that a lot of things did kind of copy. That's not what it is, for one. I don't think. I think it's great. I think it is its own thing. I believe I was expecting a slasher and also in a bit, just because that seemed like a kind of name that would associate itself with that, but it wasn't that either, which is not a bad thing also either.
So a lot of expectations were subverted with you.
Yeah, yes, a subversion of expectations, and not a meeting of them. It was I liked what I saw. I liked how it was not what I was expecting either.
Yeah, this is a thriller mystery kind of movie. And
Yeah.
It's very 80s, but not in like a forced. A lot of movies that try to pander to the 80s sometimes really try to really this is the fucking 80s. Look at all the references. It's more subtle. It's more about the interactions of the time in the past than it is actually just vomiting a bunch of shit that happened.
It shows people living
exactly
in the 80s.
And what it does that a lot of movies like this don't do is this felt like how teenage boys talk to each other, interact with each other. It was very authentic in that way.
I would make analogies of oh, I did that with my buddies. That reminds me of me and my friends. I was connecting myself with them, even though I didn't grow up in the 80s, obviously. But it felt like the interactions between kids.
Yeah.
Kind of it felt really I would definitely say that. That's fun. I still kind of laugh at that. Yeah. And then I think that also adds to the overwhelming greatness that is these child actors' ability.
What a cast. These kids are going to be future stars, hopefully. I mean, really all four of the main boys. I mean, they did to do a lot of carrying of the movie.
Yeah.
Particularly the kid who played Davey. He did really, I mean, he has to put his whole film on his back.
Oh, he did a great job too at this. It was awesome.
So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump right in and discuss the ins and outs of Summer of '84. Hour and 46 minutes, but doesn't feel like an hour and 46 minutes. And it doesn't feel like anything in this movie is extra. The plot, everything that happens in this movie is prevalent in moving the plot forward, which is rare in something like this.
Yeah.
So we start out with the monologue of basically you never know what happens behind closed doors. And even in the safety of the suburbs, some fucked up shit can go down.
Yeah.
Which is literally the whole premise of this film. So Davey he's got a paper route. I mean, this is classic, 80s teenage boy job.
Yeah.
And he goes to his neighbor, Mr. Mackey. And I always think of South Park when I say Mr. Mackey, so I'm just gonna say Mackey from now on, so I can stop laughing every time I say it. And they have this it's like a harmless interaction. I mean, this is a guy that's lived down the street his whole life. He's a cop, him, but something just feels off this whole time.
Yeah, and I really give this to the camera work they give to Mackey and to Davey. It really shows how much of an authority figure he is to him, and that coupled with a great soundtrack makes it makes me feel uneasy. When I saw this at first, I was oh, this is going to be the kid that dies, the start of the movie, not the main character, getting into it. That's the feeling I felt, and I think
there's a sense of danger throughout this whole film. Even when it's most of the movie is he really a bad guy or not? There's a literal sense of that the whole time, but there is always a sense of something can go down at any particular time.
Yeah.
And That's always really, really good with this movie. I said it never loses that. It never feels like it's gone on too long or is building to nothing. So basically, he helps him carry the chest down to the basement because he's got a dark room for his amateur photography. And Davey notices a locked door in the basement, which people just don't have random locked doors and padlocked doors in their basement. It's not something that typically goes down.
I have a basement and no door is padlocked.
Typically that means they're hiding some shit. So so and then the camera goes in on it hard. We know it's going to be a prevalent plot detail. But that's all we get.
There's really there's several things that come back up.
He also mentions the big family because of all the photos on the wall.
And some of them really holy, they really flipped me for a loop hard. But this entire first scene is extremely important and you don't even know it yet.
Big setup.
Yeah.
So then we see a bunch of the neighborhood kids play this game called Manhunt, where they all it's like hide and seek with flashlights, essentially. But they go throughout the whole subdivision. And that's where we meet the rest of the crew. Woody, Eats, and Faraday are the other kids. Woody's kind of like the fat kid of the group. Eats is the delinquent, and Faraday's the brainiac. But they all have a couple of things in common. One of which they are all extremely horny. As most 15-year-old boys are. And so they hang out in Eats's treehouse and look at porn and talk about women. This is essentially what being 15 is all about.
I mean, when I was 15 and I got my first, actually, I think I was a little younger, and I got my first Hustler magazine. It was like a fucking.
And this is the 80s. This is before it's before internet pornography.
It was like the fucking. It was like a fucking artifact. Or some shit we protect
the sacred texts. So they all kind of look at the magazine, kind of talking about the chicks. Davey particularly is interested in his old babysitter, Nikki, who was only just a couple years older than him. But that was a common thing back then. If you got a girl that's 13 and your kid's 10, you would just have her babysit your kid. And babysitting was also a lot more prevalent at that time than it was it is nowadays. Younger teenage babysitters. Nowadays it's more so people that are just babysitters. Essentially.
You used to find you used to be able to just easily pick out a couple random people.
You had that girl that lived down the street. And she's a young preteen or a teen, and you'd have her look after your kid. It's very under the table shit. But that was when the world was a little more trusting. That's not so the case these days.
But presume, they were very trusting, especially in the suburb.
And Davey is also the conspiracy theory kid. Because
I love it too.
He has all the tabloids plastered across his room, and this is not the first time because he hears that there's these missing kids. And he's like, oh my God, it's close to our town. This, this could be happening here. And they're like, nothing ever happens here. This is a small town. And, he's like, is this the time you thought aliens were touching down, or you thought that our houses were built on Indian burial grounds? He's like, they are built on burial grounds. You can't prove that. So, this is something he's always doing, which I think also adds to kind of like the boy that cried wolf situation. No one really believes them, but they're willing to play along because no one ever thinks they're going to be in actual danger.
I mean, I did stuff like this when I was a kid, running around town. We would make some weird head canon about some random neighbor, and we would just go
and you kind of follow them around.
Even if I was the one who made the head canon, or if one of my buddies did, I'd be like, yeah, you're full of shit. But I'm gonna come around anywhere else to what else am I gonna do?
Hang out this movie could have very well been that. Just some kids spending a summer assuming things, and nothing ever coming of it. It's not what's gonna happen, but it's a very relatable thing. We all get suspicious. As kids' imagination run wild. It happens. So this is not their first adventure, but it is going to be their last adventure.
Also, I like when we do get to see his wall. Like I did spend some time like looking over all the news clippings on his wall. There's some real wild ones.
And then they also communicate with walkie-talkies at night.
Yeah.
Because they invested in the really nice military grade walkie-talkies so they could be in each other's houses and still communicate. And Davey's also an aspiring filmmaker that doesn't really come up that often in the plot, but his dad's a news guy and he always wants to use his camera, which of course, that's company property. His dad's not going to let him use it.
Yeah.
And so he also hears through the rumor mill, which is just his father, that Nikki's parents are divorcing and she may be leaving the subdivision, which is it's big for him. That's his crush. He always tries to peep on across the street.
Yeah.
And then the serial killer news breaks. These missing kids aren't just missing kids; they're murdered kids.
Yeah.
And it's been the same guy going town to town, just murdering the fuck out of children, teenage boys in particular.
Yeah.
So, and the boys are excited about this because again, it's that small town young kid mindset of like, it's not gonna actually happen to me. Like, this is just something we're gonna hear about. Like, it's not actually going to come to my small town or whatever, and it's also that kid mindset of like, you don't think you're actually a mortal being. Like, you think that life is going to be this ongoing thing, and it not knowing how close they actually are to the fire here. And so they're also spying on Nikki undressing, and everyone ducks down except for Davy, who just stands there. So she clearly just sees him with binoculars spying on her across the street. And so they spend the next day at school going over news clippings, trying to learn all the info. And that, all these kids that went missing were found murdered, except the killer had murdered a family because something had gone wrong during one of his attempted kidnappings. So this guy has got quite the count for serial killers, especially in the 80s.
I think it's like 15 total bodies at this point. It's it's insane.
And then while they're doing this research, Eats steals a National Geographic because there's boobs in it.
I could see fucking kids doing that shit.
Yeah, he's like, hey, free porn.
There's titties in this magazine. Fucking Jesus.
And then they go to play Manhunt, and their friend Sammy nowhere to be found. And so they go to his house. The car's in the driveway, but the door is locked. And of course, kids are gonna just jump to conclusions. Well, Davy's gonna jump to conclusions. Everyone else is not worried about this.
Everyone's like, go home except for
then we get this scene of him making a PB&J, but it's like the weakest PB&J. Like, he has like barely any peanut butter, just a light coating of jelly. I'm like, bro, that's not how you make a PB&J. You're basically eating mostly bread here. I just had to comment on that. Make your fucking PB&J right. And then while he gets a glass of milk, he sees that there's a missing kid on the milk carton. The same kid that he saw in Mackie's house. So he's like, Mackie's the motherfucking serial killer. And that he also has been purchasing a lot of dirt. 100 pounds of it a week or something like that.
Like 100 pounds of dirt a week.
And the killer's a white male who lives alone. And they're like, but he's a cop. And he's like, yeah, which is the perfect cover for murder. Because he has access to all the crime information and everything. And so, but again, it's the fact that this is obviously decades ago, but also that he's a cop that your parents are friends with and you've grown up down the street from him. You wouldn't assume he would be this, psychopath. Or at least most. Davey does. He assumes. And so they decide that we have a montage because this is the 80s. Of them learning his schedule, tailing him, trying to figure out the time they can go in and get some information. Although they do a really bad job of getting information. They learn his schedule. And also there's a scene where they're talking about if the Ewoks could have actually defeated the Empire. Which Jedi would have come out in the early 80s. So this would have been a very prevalent conversation.
Yeah.
Again, it's not, the 80s aren't being shoved in your face.
Do you believe in the Ewoks beating the Empire?
I mean, obviously by now this has been talked to death, but it is what, listen, things have happened in the Star Wars universe much more unnerving than Ewoks defeating the Empire. So they can have it. They can have it.
Yeah. Okay.
We've come a long way.
I just needed to know that.
And then there's a lot of teasing because Eats always talks about banging Woody's mom, and Woody's very protective of his mom.
Yeah. Yeah, which we get a little of a touching scene with Woody.
There is a lot of like actual real shit in here.
Yeah, and it's like, and I like how it's just like them and their lives, and it doesn't
and it's not like overly talked about. It's just a small thing to kind of get you more invested in that character.
Yeah, and like you said, they're not overly used at all.
No, and most of the scenes don't even have dialogue in them. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
So they go through his trash and mail and just find porno that Eats also steals. So, but again, why would you go? Of course, he's not going to put evidence in his trash that he's taking to the curb.
Yeah.
If this guy's evaded capture this long, he doesn't make those kinds of mistakes.
Yeah, like if he needs to like write a letter to the police.
Yeah.
Then
he's obviously not putting fingers and bloody rags in his trash can.
Yeah.
Like, come on now, kids. Like, be a little smarter.
All those cops were purely incompetent in the 80s, which I don't think they really were. Very, come on.
Yeah, I was just like, what are you doing? Of course, it's not in his trash can.
Yeah.
And then we see Woody was gonna stay with Davey, but he goes home and his mom, you see, she's a drunken mess.
Yeah. And
he just decides to stay with her. So again, there's no dialogue in this scene really, except for like one line from his mom, but it just sets up that, this is his life. Just a small glimpse into like his part of his story.
Yeah.
And again, it's not beat over your head. It's not overdone. It's just, it's a nice thing for the character that gets you to like Woody more and understand him a little more.
Yeah.
So it's really good writing.
Yeah. It's something to like actually like have a basis on when you're thinking about him.
Exactly, because now because at this point, besides his interactions with the kids, we don't know who he is. Now we have a little more of an understanding. So then Nikki visits Davey in the middle of the night. It actually seems genuinely interested in him.
Yeah.
Which again it subverts the classic kid loves old babysitter not into kid thing.
Yeah.
But they're also a lot closer than 8. Like I said, it's not like they're like way apart. It's like a 3-year gap, maybe less, because she's probably like 17 and he's 15. Yeah. That's plausible. Okay, it's not creepy.
Yeah.
So she seems kind of into him, but his parents come home and she has to sneak out the window. So he got cock blocked by his parents. But again, good scene to kind of bring her in the story, because up to this point she hasn't been a part of it.
Yeah.
And then we see a young boy is taken by an assailant, setting up just how dangerous this neighborhood is.
Yeah.
He was literally taken like 20 feet from his house.
Yeah, which is pretty nuts. Like if I noticed somebody, I would just run back to my house.
Yeah, he just like ran into an alley. And I'm like, that's
yell really loud. I mean, the house is right there,
Yeah, something. Don't run into a darker place.
He ran into a dark alley.
Yeah,
worst place.
This kid had terrible survival instincts. So then the next day, Woody takes his mom's car and they decide they're going to trail Mackie, see where he goes.
Yeah.
So they see he's getting all these gardening tools and like, why would he need a pickaxe except for murder? I'm like, well, gardening does involve quite a bit of things. So
why would he need a pickaxe except for murder?
Anyway, everyone knows you only buy a pickaxe for murder. And then they end up getting pulled over and they think it's Mackie, but it's actually just the other cop in the town who basically is like, Woody, what are you doing driving your mom's car? Get home.
Yeah.
You damn kid. He's the coolest cop.
Yeah.
He knows that kid doesn't have a license, but he's like, just go, get out of here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with this. And then Davey tells them about his encounter with Nikki. They, of course, don't believe him.
Yeah.
But then they see that Mackie has switched cars.
Ooh,
Where did that other car come from?
yeah.
Why isn't it in his driveway more often?
It's like it's all in his cruise. It's like they think he dumped it instead of living in like in his cruiser for switching the cars.
Yeah, but of
Something.
cour's he's not going to dump his cruiser.
Yeah, he's not gonna dump his cruiser.
That'd be an obvious thing. He gets rid of a station vehicle.
So I mean, yeah, these kids' is imaginations. Like,
But they are kids.
they are
So
kids.
it's like, yeah, they think dumb things.
Yeah.
So then Nikki visits in the middle of the night again to vent about her divorced parents.
Yeah.
Because especially back then, people's lives were pretty private. Yes, a lot of parents had issues, but a lot of parents would like stay together until the kid graduated and things like that. Divorce wasn't as common as it is nowadays.
Yeah, because people just kind of like fucking stayed with people they hated.
Yeah.
until
that, or they just wouldn't
times.
tell anybody about it. Like they wouldn't talk openly about it.
Yeah.
But granted, her parents didn't talk that openly about it. Davey's dad just kind of told him.
Yeah.
And then he tells her about what he's trying to do with Mackie, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like that's he's a cop. He's not a murderer, because that's everyone's response. Like, we know him. He goes fishing with my dad. Like, but again, you don't think a serial killer would have friends? Like, you think they just live alone and keep to themselves? And some do, but like
serial killers don't have friends. Don't you know that?
Yeah, they don't have friends, family, occupations. They're just a person that's lived in a house their entire life that murders people at night. Like, no, like they live. They're people. They could literally be your next door neighbor. But again, people's survival instincts in the 80s were very low.
Yeah, very low.
And then we get another good, just like teenage boy scene where they're like, Faraday steals a bottle of whiskey from his dad's stash, and they're all like, and Eats tries to act like a hard ass, even though he takes like the smallest sip.
Yeah. Like they fucking Faraday and Davey.
They take big
swigs. They swig it hard. I'm like, dude, don't fucking do that. That's bad.
But then Eats talks shit. They just kind of tips it.
Yeah. Fucking, Jesus.
Which, to be fair, we've all been in that spot. If you're at the end of the line and you see everybody else's reactions, you're not gonna go hard.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want it. Like, it's a little bit. And he like tries to keep it down. I love it. It's great.
Then they decide they're gonna investigate the kid they assume is missing's house, but this time his door is unlocked, and they go inside and are startled because Nikki is in the house.
Yeah.
Because she's house sitting for them while they took an RV trip. So their assumptions were wrong.
Yeah.
And also Nikki just has a knack for scaring the shit out of these kids every single time.
Just great.
And then
we get like a really cool scene again with like when his friends are like, wait, you guys actually like
talk?
Yeah.
And then she says like he's more of a man than you'll ever be. And then she goes around the wall and they're all like, oh my God.
It's like, can I have a picture of you for my
shrine?
You're my God. The shit was fucking great.
And then she sits on the other side of the wall, just like smiling. It was a nice scene.
Yeah.
A nice break from all the tension that's about to happen.
Yeah, that shit, like it was pretty fucking funny.
The nice wholesome ass moment.
Yeah.
And then Davey goes to plant his old G.I. Joe walkie-talkie in Maggie's house during a game of Manhunt, so he can try to listen to some shit going down.
Yeah.
But while they're watching him, they see that Maggie's got rubber gloves and bleach and maybe blood on his shirt.
Maybe blood.
Well, he says it could be paint. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, like, people have cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. Now, if he was like, carrying like some acidic products downstairs, then but it's bleach.
Yeah.
People own bleach.
A lot of
people. Every household probably has bleach in it. Okay.
Jesus.
Then this one kid just shows up, scares the shit out of him, like, get out of here, you asshole. Woody's like, I fucking hate that kid.
I fucking love it. Yeah, I feel that. I feel like
there's always that kid in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, get the fuck away from me. Like, why do we even hang out with you?
And he's like, I still found you. But he's like, God, I hate that fucking kid. I'm like, yeah, me too. Fuck that kid. But then Mackie catches Davy by the window and he just runs away instead of trying to smooth over the situation right there.
Yeah, running. That it makes you look
going oh shit
innocent.
and then fleeing the scene. Yeah, that makes him very suspicious.
Yeah.
So he decides that the next day he's gonna go try to make sure that walkie-talkie's working because he can't get a signal on it. So he goes next door and they have this very tense interaction. And Mackie says like, oh, hey, if you're still using those G.I. Joe walkie-talkies, I got some police walkie-talkies inside. They pick up everything. So this implies that Mackie's been hearing their radio conversations the entire movie.
Yeah.
Which is really freaky when you think about it.
Yeah.
So he goes back to his house, goes to spy out his window and sees that Mackie's looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
It's Inception with binoculars.
Yep.
And then he goes, oh God, and he ducks down. And then he comes back up and sees that just the walkie-talkie is in the window. Yeah. Again, like freaky tense shit.
Yeah. Like if anyone had like any doubts, I feel like
this is where you're like, oh shit.
Gone. Yep. Like it would have that would have to be gone at this moment.
So then they decide this is time for some surveillance. So yeah. They send Woody and Faraday to see where the hell he's going. And then Eats and Davy are gonna dig up his garden, thinking that he's gonna bury bodies in his garden.
Yeah.
In his backyard? No.
Yeah. Like, yeah, they're not the brightest.
Yeah, not great. No. But Woody and Faraday fall into a storage unit and see this is where the other car is. And then they see chemicals, which Woody calls Noah because he doesn't know chemical science.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing in the garden because it's a fucking garden. And Eats also shows Davey how to pick a padlock.
Yeah.
As they get into the shed and find a bloody MTV shirt, the same MTV shirt the kid that went missing was wearing. Yeah. This confirms it. This is total great evidence.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't get any more before bringing this to the adults.
Yeah. Also like how East just kind of like says he just kind of bullshits the lock picking. So I just kind of wiggle it around.
Yeah.
It works.
He's not like an expert lock pick. He's like, hey, I just kind of jiggle it till it comes open.
Yeah.
And it usually works, but doesn't always work. So again, and also sets up some shit later.
Yeah.
But great that he's not just like this expert lock pick. He's just like, yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I just fuck around with the lock, see if it opens. Lost my place, damn it. Oh yeah, right. So they find out that the chemical is used for dissolving muscular tissue.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, but this is definitely great. And it is evidence, but it's not enough. So they decide they're going to go right to their parents with this. Horrible, horrible idea.
Yeah.
So their parents are like, you know what? We're going to bring you right to Mackie's front door and tell him everything. Which again, I'm like, parents, no.
Yeah.
This is something you just say, knock his shit off and we'll never talk about this again. Like, we do not want to have an open forum conversation about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Like their parents were definitely not living in the 80s. They were too open about everything.
Yeah. But like, and again, I understand them not believing them.
Yeah.
But don't tell the guy spying
on
them. Spying on him.
Like my kids and his friends have been spying on you for like the past couple weeks, and they think
they just thought you were a serial killer.
And they also fucked up your garden and got in your shed.
Yeah, it's like, no, don't do that. But of course, Mackie plays this way too cool, and by his way too cool reaction, it's again like, oh shit, like I think he's the guy.
Yeah.
But again, Dad, what are you thinking? Don't do it. Don't go over there. Yeah. So yeah, Davy's defeated. Doesn't really have any more evidence.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, that shirt just belonged to my nephew. He was helping me. Something must have cut him his finger or something. Which, like, yeah, you would know if your nephew cut his hand. So then Nikki comes over for another vent sesh.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of have another nice little heart to heart. And then the next day, He thinks it's Nikki at the door, but it's Mackie, who wants to smooth things over.
Yeah.
And Davy's like, if I just don't invite him in, vampire rules will apply. He won't be able to enter the domicile.
Yeah. I mean, technically, vampire rules kind of work on cops. Like, they're not supposed to come. Vampire rules.
He's not
cops.
in uniform. He's just a neighbor at this point.
Yeah.
And he's like, just call your nephew. And he does. He's like, oh, he just didn't answer. And then Davy star 64 is the number, or 69 or whatever the hell you use.
Yeah.
And he reveals Mackie called himself.
Yeah. Which I also like how he like stuffed a knife in his back pocket, thinking he'd be able to do anything.
He was trying. He was doing his best. He was caught off guard here.
Yeah.
But also he thought ahead to like recall the number to see what it was.
Yeah.
That was also really smart.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, clearly Mackie's off because he called his own house.
Yeah, which is weird, but it still doesn't prove anything either.
And then that night on the news, Mackie caught the actual killer.
Yeah.
And his parents are like, see, he's not a serial killer. He's a hero. You should feel terrible. And again, I'm like, parents, you are going to regret these words later.
Yeah.
He's totally a hero.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's going to be this big town festival, which again is a very small town thing to do.
Yeah.
And Faraday is supposed to keep watch at the festival on Mackie.
Yeah.
Eats is supposed to be at the bus station watching for vehicles leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And Woody and Davy are going to search the house for evidence. And then we see a little glimpse into Eats' home life because his parents are arguing. His brother's a douche canoe.
Yeah.
And he's very distracted. He's listening to music and not really in on this mission.
Yeah. Like he can tell it really fucking eats out.
True to his name.
Yeah. That's where he gets it.
And then while Woody and Davy are breaking in through the window, Nikki just comes in again, scaring the shit out of Woody.
And then she does it on purpose now, and I like that.
She's like, it's so easy.
She's like, I'm gonna help these give up, but I'm gonna give him a little spooky spook.
And then Faraday sees that all the dirt and pickaxe stuff was for the big garden they planted for the festival. And he's like, all right, guys, that's enough for me. I'm out. Turns off his radio, leaves surveillance, leaves them totally fucked.
Yeah.
I'd be super pissed at Faraday for this.
Yeah.
You had one job. Just stay at the fun festival and keep an eye on him. You don't have to do anything else. Let us know if he leaves. That's it. That's all you had to fucking do. I'm not telling you to fucking tackle him and punch him in the throat. Like, Jesus.
Tackle the cop.
Do it.
Tackle the cop, Faraday.
And then Eats, he's really distracted, not really up for a surveillance mission, barely able to keep track of any cars.
Yeah.
And then Faraday goes and picks him up.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can just come stay with me. I know your parents are always at it.
Yeah.
And again, see their connection because Faraday and Eats are closer of the group, and then Woody and Davy are closer in that group.
Yeah.
Because there's connections within the actual big group, which is just like an actual friend group would work. Mm-hmm. I like that. Again, subtlety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that's usually, that is usually how friend groups work. It's usually two people, and then like other people just kind of hang out. They just kind of
there's a spider web of connections within the actual group.
Yeah.
But so now they have no one looking out for them, and they're completely fucked. Again, be super pissed about this.
Yeah.
So Davey goes to pick the lock, and Woody's like, "Did Each show you that? That never works." And then the lock pops right open, and he's like, "God damn it!"
Which they just keep getting spooked by random shit.
Well, yeah, because the water heater from earlier kicks on, and Woody's like jumps, and she's like, "Would you stop freaking out?"
And then the light bulb hits the light bulb, he freaks out. And he's like, "It's just a light bulb." Turns on, it blows up. They all freak out. I'm like, dude, Jesus, how much tension you want to relieve? How much tension you gonna build, and then blue ball me?
So then within the locked room, they see it's Mackie's childhood bedroom.
Yeah.
Which is already really creepy that it's within a basement. And then they find pictures of the missing kid. And then they look down and find said kid dead, half corroded in this fucking bathtub of acid.
Yeah.
So that's proof. Because they videotaped it on his dad's camera.
Proof.
There we go. You kids did it. That's how you actually get proof.
Yeah. And then they get a live kid too. Extra
Yeah.
proof.
Who grabs Nikki by the ankle,
Yeah.
scaring the shit out of her. So they did it. They bring it to the police. The police are going after Mackie. They've saved the day. The parents feel like pure shit.
Yeah, the cops even like you, like your child's a hero. You should like be so proud of him. And
then the
probably like
the car ride back, like you could see the parents are like, not only do they feel bad, but they almost could have lost their kid. Because also when they were leaving the house, they see that the big family pictures on the wall is actually pictures of his victims. And Davy's picture was on the wall.
Yeah.
So he was going to target Davy next.
Yeah.
So they could have very well lost Davy to this guy.
Which is a very, like, I don't know what it is about serial killers and keeping fucking mementos, but that's an immediate
It's a pretty
link.
common thing.
Like, it's a link to you and the thing that you did. Like,
yeah, but again, he also sent a letter. It's like after a while, they get bored and they have to like stroke their ego a little more.
It's like, it
has to be exciting again for them.
Yeah.
There's a whole psychology thing on this, but this actually is very common. Like a lot of the things that Mackie does in here are very common to serial killers.
Yeah.
So with that, Woody stays over at Davy's house again, and their parents like, well, your lives are never going to be the same. Yeah, you found a dead kid rotting in a bathtub. Yeah, your life changes, but also like you're going to be heroes, and the town's going to love you.
Yeah.
And they go to sleep, and Mackie was hiding in their attic, which was referenced because he said when Davy's parents moved in, he helped them move boxes into their attic. So he knew exactly how to get in. So this makes perfect sense. But again, you probably should have checked the nearby houses when you were looking for Mackie.
I mean, I would have checked. I mean, I would have had my house checked.
Especially considering that these kids caught him. You should definitely check their house first. Like, police, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So he takes Woody and Davy to the woods and plays his own game of manhunt.
He takes him to like I think
like this whole island, because they live on like this beach town.
Yeah, a coastal island where on high tide it becomes an island. Yeah, some weird shit or something.
And so they play manhunt, and Davy gets his leg cut, and Woody gets his throat slit. He actually murders one of the kids.
Yeah.
And tells Davy that I want you to live your whole life in fear of the one day I'm actually going to come back for you.
Yeah.
And then leaves. And then that's it. Like we get a shot of like the sad neighborhood of like the treehouse getting torn down. Obviously, Davy's probably not friends with the other two anymore, considering they left him and got Woody killed.
Yeah.
Essentially.
He fucking like eats and
yeah, because if Faraday would have kept eyes on Mackie, he wouldn't have never escaped and never have kidnapped them and killed Woody. Yeah. Woody's mom is now like falling to shit because her son is dead. Yeah. Nikki's parents divorced and she left town. It's a sad tone, and you know, Davy now has to live the rest of his life worrying about, is this going to be the day?
Yeah.
And that's summer of '84.
Pretty decent.
So some quick trivia facts. In the bowling alley, there is a Polybius machine.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. That shit was I'm like, you're into conspiracy theories, and it's right there. Yep. Like there's an actual one right there. Like you could actually look at.
I thought that was a nice touch, and again, subtle, very subtle.
Yeah, it was very cool.
And also the scene when they walk into the bowling alley, the same song is playing, and they're in the exact same position as the Karate Kid when Ralph Macchio walks into like one of the hangouts places.
Nice.
So, and I believe Karate Kid came out the summer of 1984. So that was like a perfect reference. But again, subtle, not in your face. One of the missing boy photos on the wall of Mackie is actually a victim of John Wayne Gacy. Ooh. Faraday has Jeffrey Dahmer glasses on the whole movie.
Yeah, I like it. It looked a little funky.
Mackie drives a Beetle, which is the same car as Ted Bundy. And yes, that's the facts. Obviously, Mackie, they took a bunch of like him taking him targeting teenage boys is also a Gacy thing. And then familiar faces. Graham Verche, who played Davy, was in Fargo, Supergirl, and The Good Doctor. Tira Scovby, who played Nikki, was in The Haunting Hour, Once Upon a Time in Riverdale. Judah Lewis, who played Eats, was in The Babysitter 1 and 2 and The Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2. So a lot of Netflix movies for him.
Oh, yeah.
And Jason Gray Stranford, who played Davy's dad, was Nappa in Dragon Ball Z. Donatello in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, and he was the main character Monk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that had some people in this, and I think everybody else is going to go on to have some careers too. These kids were great.
Yeah. Every kid is this is
So,
a really
Cole,
good mark on their career.
Give me your final thoughts and overall opinion on Summer of '84.
I like how it kind of gives us, like, this is the killer in the beginning of the movie a little bit, and then it kind of subverts your expectations, and then it comes crashing back. It's like, actually he did do it, you idiot. Why would you think he wasn't idiot? And he smacks me in the head. I liked the whole synthwave soundtrack.
Very good.
It was really good. I love the interaction of the characters. I love their personalities, and I love like how we're given, like us as an audience are given the ability to just learn about about them and their home life through just like how they interact and like in the little snippets they give us. And we put that together. They don't have to sit on it, and they don't have to show us. They don't show us multiple times to make sure we get it, because they just trust that we will. The acting was great. It was really fantastic, which is really, I think, rare for child actors for the most part.
Particularly in the horror genre.
Yeah, for getting such an overwhelmingly good performance. I'm sad Woody died. I liked him. I like that guy. Overall, a really good movie. There was a lot of like cinematic, framing shots that were really cool of Mackie and throughout the movie. It was really nice overall. I definitely recommend someone watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so like you said, we spend a lot of time with the kids before the horror really comes into play. And that's good, because like when Woody dies, you care because you've spent so much time with them. And like we feel like we know how these kids interact. And they do kind of go back and forth on like when I first watched this, there was a point where I was like, oh, is this gonna be like he isn't the killer? And these kids just kind of like, maybe he's just like kind of a weird dude, like, you know what I mean? Like I kind of thought it was going for that for a minute, but then the kid in the bathtub happens, and you're like, oh fuck, yep, that's him, he's the killer. And I don't know, and then it gets really real because you don't expect him to then be in the attic and actually like take it like over the edge and everything, and it ends on such a bleak but yet like kind of realistic way, because a lot of people that survive these sort of events, they aren't the same afterwards. Things change. And I like how they did that. And I think this is for a movie of this type, this is above average, both with the writing, the cinematography, the acting, everything is just on here.
Yeah.
And so I would give this about a 7.5 out of 10. It's not quite like in that like golden movie ranking, but like it's pretty damn close. It's very enjoyable. I've now watched this 3 times, and it just flows so smoothly and just feels so like authentic to it.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 7.5. I definitely do think it deserves a bit, like I think it deserves more than a 6.7 that I think IMDb got it. Like right now.
It deserves more than what it's rated. And also I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie because it's a Shudder exclusive.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be, have some more eyes on it.
Yeah.
So that's going to end our coverage on Summer of '84. Join us next time. We're going to start our next trilogy for the Hell House franchise, also on Shudder, which I've never seen before. So, hopefully this goes well.
Yeah.
If not, we'll cut 3 weeks of it. So
yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get a sequel to this Summer of '84 as well. I think there's talks of it. I think there was. I
mean, there's you can go to Davy in the future and have the day happens where he he comes back.
That might be a little interesting. Who knows?
I don't know. I kind of like this just being the story. I don't think we need any more. I think this is a fine Not everything needs
still,
the sequel treatment.
yeah, it's definitely a standalone
Yeah.
thing.
All right. So again, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, with the bell notification on YouTube if you're joining us in the other places and all across the world where we've seen people be listening from. We appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay nerdy.